She says if my sister wasn't breastfeeding when they shot and killed my mother, she would have starved to death. Khatir Orojova lost her mother, another sister, her father and uncle in Khojali in what Human Rights Watch calls a massacre of Azeri civilians. After a deal between Azerbaijan and Armenia, her village will once again be under Azeri control. But the emotional wounds from nearly 3 decades ago are still fresh.
I have great hatred for them. Today they say, let's go live with Armenians. I cannot. I even saw Soviet troops standing by, watching it happen. They supported the killers. My father fought in self-defense. That's why they took his scalp after killing him.
Many of the displaced people from Nagorno-Karabakh have vivid memories. This woman says she still has nightmares after watching her relatives being killed and their bodies burnt. Khatir's mother-in-law refuses to dye her hair because decades later she is still in mourning. And her husband sees no reason to trust Russian peacekeepers.
Armenia depends on Putin. Whatever he says, they'll obey.
Nearly 10,000 people live in this refugee settlement, which used to be a tent camp. Azerbaijan's government says it has spent more than $7 billion to develop 11 settlements for the people displaced from Nagorno-Karabakh. After the agreement to retake all areas, Azerbaijan's government still has to convince people to return home. That's likely to take time because of the deep mistrust that exists between ethnic Azeris and Armenians, and many people here accusing the Soviets of facilitating massacres. Fuad Husseinov says the committee he leads for the displaced has designed a project called the Great Return Program. It outlines a voluntary gradual return of the displaced, but he wants the international community's help in reconstruction and rehabilitation of 700,000 people.
United Nations, as well as other international actors, have demonstrated impotence in implementing their own resolutions, which they have adopted for almost 30 years. Of course, they need to step in and render all support and assistance with the return of internally displaced persons.
The question remains how many of them are willing to try to live in peace with ethnic Armenians who also regard Nagorno-Karabakh as their ancestral home.